You're listening to This Week in Property. Stay current, relevant and up to date in the world of property investment. Learn from the UK's leading property professionals and grow your property business.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Property. I'm your host Richard Swan, and in today's show we touch upon our theme where we have a chat about property in the UK and we pick a location. Now today you've got a free bonus, yes. As the episode name suggests, we are going to talk about London. Brilliant. Very particular borough within London, and I've got the very man to speak about that because he is doing and has been doing all sorts of deals in that particular area. But you've got a free bonus because he also has other strategies and other investments in another part of the UK, and we actually dive into that in the show. But I won't tell you where that is just now. Let's keep that a wee mystery. So the young gentleman, the entrepreneur on fire that we have today is a chap by the name of Leslie Asante-Ntoni. Tremendous young man who's doing all sorts of things and shares all sorts of wisdoms in the show. It's fantastic. He just opened the books, opened his heart about everything about him, about his background, about a very, very, distressing, powerful, life-changing, decision-making moment in his youth that drives him on, that is behind his focus, his determination to succeed, to prosper, to help, to grow, and to protect and provide for his family. As actually his three young musketeers, as we touch upon, his three young sons. And when it comes to his three young sons, I can tell you about that as well. One of his young sons, Ezekiel, made an invasion into the show right from the word go, and poor Leslie had to contend with that. But he did well, he juggled well. So when you hear the young voice and the young chap's noise in the background, that's what it's all about. He's trying to upstage his dad, but he never did that. Sorry, Ezekiel, but your dad was a superstar in this one. So great chat, great show, lots of things to learn from. He took part to talk about his story, to share some of the deals, his experiences, his opinions, his strategies, his tactics, and shared a lot of things that listeners can use. Listen to the challenges he's came against, how he juggles different parts of the UK geography, how he has different strategies and tactics for different markets, different areas, different customers. So, tremendous stuff. But enough from me. Let's get on with the show. Please give it up for Leslie Asante-Ntoni. So, Leslie, good morning. It's fantastic to have you on the show with us today.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, very...
Me too.
And your right-hand man there. Yeah.
My right-hand man, my son, Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, yeah, that's
number two.
Fantastic name. Number two, Ezekiel. Good morning, Ezekiel. Outstanding. From Scotland to sunny London. This is how we work in 2018. God knows what your future is going to be like, Ezekiel. If this is what we're facing, my goodness, God only knows. But let's jump into that chat. Let's talk about work. Let's talk about property. Let's talk about careers and futures and things and all the kind of stuff that's going on. Let's have a good chat. But to have that chat with this gentleman, let's find out about this gentleman. So, Leslie, how would you kind of briefly summarise your career, your work, your background from that perspective that got you to this point of what you're doing in property at the moment? What's behind you?
So, what's behind me? My career started as a chartered accountant, and then went on.
You hear all the booze, Leslie? Can you hear it? You hear the booze? I'm going to tell the listeners to stick with you. This is a man we can deal with. This is not your average accountant.
Not your average accountant. Trust me, not your average accountant. You know.
Carry on.
Yeah, that's what my professional career started out as chartered accountancy, and I specialized in tax and became a chartered tax advisor. But I had always wanted to get into property, and for me, it was about how do I get into property? How do you raise the capital? I always had the belief that you had to work and save your money, and it was going to take quite a long time a number of years for you to build up a deposit to buy probably just a little one-bedroom flat. I live in London, you see, so we've got crazy high house prices, you know. What can buy you here a studio flat? Elsewhere in the country, you can get a mansion. You know? But hey, that's the environment I live in. It's my reality. But hey, people are making it work. So I thought I could make it work. I just had to find out how, you know. So that's what I was doing before I got into property. And whilst I was working as an accountant and tax advisor, most of my clients were high net worth individuals, business owners, company directors. And whilst they had their income coming from their primary income coming from their business or their salary, most of them had investments in property, you know. So I saw that property is definitely the vehicle that I need to get into. It's just about how. And so I educated myself, and I am where I am. And that's a quick, brief summary. There's a lot more behind that.
Oh, there definitely is. There definitely is. And there's so much I want to chat with you. There's two specific locations in England that I want to dip into, and we'll understand your opinions and your experiences and your ideas there, because I think that will help a lot of the listeners tuning in, especially the investors who want to know about these different locations. We'll have a chat about some of the kind of deals you're working on as well, because that's always fascinating when you hear what other people are up to and what's possible and what's involved and how you look at a deal, how you structure it, all those kind of things. That'll be great. But yeah, there is a lot to you, and this is why I wanted you on the show, because full disclosure, we know each other because you've been through the Protege Platinum training with BMW. We know each other, met quite a few times, number of times. You were recently at one of our land training events and you did a fantastic presentation there. You were not only there as part of the group working, but you were one of the main guest speakers, and you were just giving great information to the guys, great encouragement, great examples, all this kind of stuff. But there was a power behind it. There was a real, honest, genuine, powerful, personal story behind it. And it's a thing that drives you. It's a thing that gives you your passion to want more, to want better, to care for your wonderful family that you've got. Is that something? Do you feel comfortable about sharing that story, about what's behind that, to understand what makes you tick as a man?
Yeah, sure. So, look, my parents came over to the UK in the 1970s, right? They came from Ghana, West Africa, right, with very little education. Well, I say little education. They finished secondary education. That was it. They didn't have the opportunity, as my father would always say, didn't have the chance to go to university. He would always say to me, "You're lucky you've got this chance here to go to university. You know, you've got good education system over here, and that's why we came to the country, so that our children could have a good education." You know, so yeah, they came over in the 70s, and in the 80s, they bought their council flats. They managed to each get a council flat under the right to buy system. My family is quite large. I'm number 6 of 10 kids, so there was loads of us in the house. Right, and then what they did is they moved the family to a larger family house in Croydon in London, but retained their flats that they had, which was in southwest London, Battersea. Now, when they arrived in Battersea, that area was like a dump. Well, not quite a dump, but it was rough. It's what I would call the hood. Yeah. But go there now, it's completely different, completely gentrified, completely changed, and I love it. What's happened to Battersea, and I'm seeing that happening in where I live now in Croydon as well. You know. So, they got on the property ladder. I mean, they kept their flats, moved the family to Croydon, and they rented out their flats and became accidental landlords. So I was exposed to the landlord culture or the landlord way of life from a young age, you know. So, again, I just thought I had to save up a lot of money to do it, to get onto it. So in my teen years, Mine was tight. For my family and my parents. We weren't poor, but we weren't rich. You know, we didn't have loads. We were scraping basically. You know, doing enough to pay the bills. I remember I used to go with my mom to work. She would have she worked as a cook with the Metropolitan Police, right? And evening sometimes she would do cleaning jobs as well, you know. And I remember going to the cleaning jobs with her, you know. So it was a bit challenging at times. It was tough. My older brother, he got into gang culture, as you would call it, the wrong crowd. Decided to take matters into his own hands. Wanted to make some money, you know, for himself, and went down the route of doing it illegally. So robbery, that kind of stuff, and he did some jail time for that as well. So not having him around when I was about 13 was also a massive blow to my confidence, because those of you that are listening who have older brothers or older sisters, older siblings, you look up to them. Well, most of us look up to them. You know, I'm sure there's some people out there that probably don't look up to their older siblings, but hey, that's another conversation for another day. So yeah, that was a blow to my confidence a bit, not having my older brother around. And then my mum would always say, don't follow your brother's footsteps. But I shouldn't say naturally, but I did. And I went down that route as well, got into the gangster, doing stuff we shouldn't have been doing, you know, making money illegally. And then when I was 17, I got stabbed in my face after having an altercation with a group of boys. And the funny thing is, right, the day that it happened, I remember it was like a movie, right? The day that it happened, a couple of hours before, I saw this girl on the street, right? Went over to her, chatted her up.
Daddy.
Yeah.
You're daddy.
Yeah, daddy. That's daddy. Right. Yeah.
Mom.
Daddy's talking. I'm telling my story, son. All right, listen. Yeah, so I chatted up this girl, and then me and my friends, we went out to see another friend, and that's when we got into the altercation and we had the fight, and I got stabbed. And after I got stabbed, I went to the hospital. It was my quickest visit to the hospital ever. I couldn't believe how quick it was. You know, they sewed up my face, glued it back together. Within an hour, I was out. You know, within an hour, I was out of the hospital, and then I went to a party right after being stabbed. Can you believe it? You know, like nothing could happen. But then a few days after the event, I had time to reflect on what had happened, and you know, obviously, you think about, right, I'm going back for these people who did it for me. So I was thinking, right, who do I know? I'm going to go and get my boys and let's go and deal with them. But then I said to myself, right, there's no, because two things are going to happen, right? One of two things are going to happen if I go down that route. I'm either going to go jail, or I'm going to end up dead. So I decided that, do you know what? I lick my wounds. I forget about it. It's one of those things that's happened to me, and I'll learn from it. You know, so I decided to focus on my education. Got my A levels at school, and then I went to uni, done my accountancy degree, and qualified. I got my accountancy degree, and then I went down the route of the professional accounting exams and became a chartered accountant. But it was during my time this is where I got the first real property seed, right? Because it was during my time at university. My dad forced me to refurb his flat with him, you know, and I was so resentful at the time. You know, I was so resentful because I had to give up my spare time that I should have been spent, that I wanted to spend with my girlfriend, the one who I chatted up on the day that I got stabbed, ironically. All right. But yeah, he made me do the refurb with him. The project was supposed to take 6 weeks, and it took us 6 months. You know, he's a proper jack of all trades, DIY, do it yourself. You know, and forced his son into indentured labor. But with hindsight, probably one of the best things that happened to me, because I learned all the trades: plumbing, electrics, decorating. I learned how you take a refurb project from start to finish. You know, and that really made me realize I need to get into property. So that's the little backdrop.
Yeah, that little backdrop. That is quite a backdrop. There's two. I mean, there's two amazing milestones there. Of course, there's that moment that you had where, as you say, you could have chose the bad fork in the road, and continued the violence when whatever was going to come. But you took the other fork in the road and said, nah, I'm going to move on. I'm going to avoid those dangers, those risks. It's a massive thing. You think it could have been an easy thing to have went the wrong way? You've seen it before with people around you?
Yeah, easily. I could have easily gone the wrong way, and I see some of those people that I used to hang around with back in the day, and their lives are completely different to mine. They're still on the road, still on the street, as it were, and that easily could have been me.
Yeah.
Had I not made the conscious decision to not go down that route.
Yeah. Why do you think you made that?
Wow.
Is it?
Sorry?
Why do you think you made the right choice? What was behind that? Have you got anything? Is it it's just the way my mum always spoke to me, or no, I've got a strong faith, or I've got this, that and the other? Because when you're in an environment, we both know what this is like with the mindset and your peer group and the pressures and everything else.
Yeah, it's a mixture. It's a few reasons. Obviously, my mum, definitely. My mum and my dad definitely played a part in the decision, because for them to lose another son to jail, would be devastating. Because I saw how it devastated them with my older brother.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to replicate that.
Yeah.
And then also, I had younger brothers as well who were looking up to me.
See.
So got to set the example for them as well. When also again, yes, I am a Christian. I was raised a Christian as well, so I do have strong faith. I just went my late teen period. I just went through a period of rebellion, partly due to peer pressure, as you said. So those were the main reasons that I made that decision.
Yeah, and thank goodness you did. Fantastic.
Oh,
Quite a powerful story. It really is. I can't even imagine that particular incident. Just horrific. And then, of course, the other milestone, a wee bit less dramatic, thank goodness. Although you did say it was, what was it, indentured servitude or something? Is that what it was? Fantastic. I hope that's not a model you're deciding to carry on with your own children.
No, not at all. But my own children will have to put in that sweat equity. Yeah.
Yes.
Sweat equity.
Brilliant stuff. So one of the other things that jumped out of the story when you were doing your presentation, and I thought, that's key. That's really key. And it was the storyline behind kitchens and promises, to partners and whatever. And it was like a wee stepping stone throughout your whole property journey, and and that's the important part of the lesson. It's keeping your people on side, keeping your circle on side, your partner on side, etc. You want to go into that a wee bit? Yeah.
So what I do in London, my property business in London is we do development. So we buy a house in Croydon and and around that area, buy large houses and split them into flats for resale, you know. And why we particularly focus on Croydon is because it's an up-and-coming area. Transport links are excellent into London. It's one of the first-time buyer hotspots in London because it's one of the more affordable boroughs as well. The amenities are great. West Shopping Centre's coming. So it's got a lot going for it. So there's an opportunity, you know, so that's why we focus on London. So one of the deals that we've done, the first deals that we've done is we converted a 5-bed house into 3 flats. And how we funded it, right, involves the kitchen. Involves the kitchen. Now, the backstory to the kitchens and why it's the kitchens is because the kitchen for my mum and the kitchen for my wife. So let's go all the way back how we got the kitchens involved. So this goes back to 2010, right? 2010, my mum and my father decided to part and to separate, right? And so my mum was leaving the family house in Croydon, and she had the option. She needed somewhere to live, so she had the option of going back to live in her flat, her council flat that she had in Battersea, or buy a new place. So what she did, she decided that she was going to sell the flat, and I wasn't on the property ladder at this time, and I saw it as an opportunity to get onto the property ladder. So I said to my mum, look, you don't want to sell the flat to outsiders. You want to keep it in the family, right? So we had a few chats, and what we agreed to do was remortgage the flat with my mum. We moved into the flat, myself and my wife, and then we bought my mum a house for cash as well, so that she didn't have a mortgage on her head. Because at the same time, the Metropolitan Police were going through government cuts, and there were concerns, or they had told staff that redundancies were around the corner. So my mum wasn't sure whether she would be one of those affected. So she wanted to make sure that she didn't have a mortgage over her head. So the key thing for her was to get a house with no mortgage. So we managed to do that. The flat in Battersea was worth about 400,000 at the time, and she purchased the house for about 50,000 in the 80s. So it's a lot of the house, and that's how we were able to do it. And that's how I got onto the property ladder with none of my own money, you know. So I kept my eye on the market. So remember this flat that we got in Battersea, the family flat, my mum's flat, went up in value. 2013, it was now worth 500,000. So crazy London, you know. Really that's the benefit of London, you know. So we released more equity from the flat, and then we bought our house, our residential home in Croydon that I live in now, where I'm sitting now as we talk, right? Myself and my wife, and rented out the flat with my mum in Battersea, and shared the profits, the rental income from that. So that's how I got into the residential. I got my first investment property. So the house that we bought was a very, 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 very tired house. The training that I got from my father, being a DIY man, is always look for a bargain and do it up yourself. So I wanted a project, because I knew that if you buy a house that's tired, that needs work to it, you're going to get it a little bit cheaper. So I managed to convince my wife that we're going to go down that route rather than buying a brand new build house where we can just turn the key and move in. And that was the option she preferred. Right. So I convinced my wife that we're going to buy this tired house, and we bought it. And I got a personal loan to do it up. But the budget didn't stretch far enough to do the kitchen, right?
Here's the kitchen involved.
This is where the kitchen starts. This is the first kitchen. So So I said, look, don't worry. House prices will go up again. And when they go up, we'll release more equity. I'll do you a new. I won't just do you a new kitchen. I'll extend the property out the back and make you a massive open plan kitchen. You know, going into the garden and onto the side, because the kitchen she had to deal with was quite tiny, 2 meters by 1 meter, very very tiny.
Whoa!
You know, but she made miracles happen. She made miracles happen. So
yeah,
shout out to my wife if you're listening or when you listen to this.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's quite a negotiating streak we're seeing here. We've negotiated to keep properties in the family. Now we're negotiating a kitchen expansion with a good lady.
Yes, yeah. You know, you have to sell the vision. You know, people buying. You have to sell the vision, but then more importantly, deliver on the vision.
Yes,
that's what we have to always remember.
And you really did, didn't you? You really have. You repaid those things. You came back. And you were a man of your word. Yeah, you got those kitchens sorted out, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. So, after buying the house in 2013, 2015 came. Property prices, as I said, went crazy high. So we were able to release more equity from the house in Croydon. But this was a time when I decided to educate myself in property as well. I was still working full-time as an accountant. And I went on to a proper education seminar with a company called Field & Financial, and signed up and paid for our education. And I had to tell my wife, look, based on the knowledge that we've known on this short 3-day education course, there's no way I can justify doing your kitchen extension now. Invest this money in property. So she well, I wouldn't say reluctantly, she was on board. You know, she saw the bigger picture. Yeah. You know, and said, all right, cool. Let's invest in our education. Let's invest in how to do this property investing properly, and then in no time we'll make the money back and we'll do the kitchen. So that's how I started my professional investing journey. And then so fast forward a few months, so back to this house in Croydon that we are turning into 3 flats, right? It was on the market for 480. I put in an offer for 3. We negotiated it down to 385,000, right? And how I funded it is that, remember my mom's house that we bought for her cash, so no debt on it, unencumbered. Yeah, that the value of that had gone up as well, was in excess of 400,000. So there's an asset there that has no debt on it. So I said, and she had been banging on to me about a new kitchen as well, saying her kid's tired. So I said, Mom, look, if you want a new kitchen, I can deliver for you because of the education I've got now. But I'm going to need you to put up collateral. If you put up your house as collateral so we can get the loans and the funding for this deal, I'll able to do your kitchen for you. So she agreed. That's how. So my mum basically a joint venture partner with me on this deal. She put up her property as security for us to buy the house, turn it into flats, and sell it. You know, so once that's complete, we've sold the flats. She'll get her new kitchen, you know, and extension.
Yeah. So
there are creative ways how you can raise finance, you know, and raise money.
Yes, absolutely. That's something you've really seen through your education, isn't it? Because you're right. You started obviously at one point talking about that belief of, what you do is you just save up forever. You get the deposit and you buy your house. You know, that's it. This one trick pony. But as you've seen through your journey, there's so many different avenues, so many different options, so many different structures that you can get creative and pull different deals together. So let me jump into the London part of the puzzle, because you touched upon it in quite a few ways there through your story. I mean, it sounds incredible. It looks from the outside just to be bonkers. It's like this bubble inside the UK, all on its own, all just completely wild and wacky. Some roller coaster you just cannot contain or control or predict. As an investor, how on earth do you deal with those stresses? You know, are you just hanging on and thinking everything's going to go up all the time? Because the numbers just don't make sense, don't they not, in the kind of normal world, about how quickly equity increases and so on.
Yeah, it is crazy in the London market. It's in a complete different bubble to the rest of the UK, and the key is you've got to look for areas that are up and coming, going through development or about to go through the development. You know, what you have to remember is that London, everybody wants to live in London everybody wants to come to London. That's what's driving the prices up. You know, it's the demand. So as an investor, you have to know what the current market values are and work backwards. You know,
Gotcha.
House prices won't continue increasing forever. There will be a time where house prices stagnate or even drop, but that will just be for a period, and then it will go back up again.
Then it'll recalibrate again. Yeah, it is a supply and demand, as you say. It underpins everything in business, doesn't it? No matter how crazy it might look from the outside, but it's just these laws that keep bumping against each other. Yeah, and I like that. So rather than thinking of London and this thing that you're trying to get a grip of, you know, as an investor, rather than struggling with that madness, what's up? 2 years and it's went 100% in value. Rather than that, specialise, pick an area. Pick a section, become that expert, and that's obviously what you are in the kind of the Croydon area. I mean, how big is that? You're talking when you talk about Croydon, for someone listening from the outside, what are you talking as an area? You know, it's so and so many miles across, or there's such and such of a population, or how would you describe it?
Terms of size, I don't know, but Croydon is the second most populous borough in London.
Is it? Right.
Yeah. In the 2011 census, there was about 330,000 people living in Croydon borough alone.
Wow.
You know, that number is growing. And it has, you know, because Croydon has on many occasions in the past tried to apply for city status, you know, because you can easily get it. Well, I say easily, it could get it, because it's got its business hub in the town centre. It's got the biggest. It's also got the retail and leisure hub, the Whitgift Centre, which is now being changed to the Westfield Shopping Centre.
Right.
You know, it's well positioned for business because you're 15 minutes away from Gatwick Airport by train, and you're also 15 minutes away from central London by train. Right. You're an hour's drive away from the seaside and the countryside, you know, in Brighton and surrounding areas. So you've got that good pool of in the surrounding areas of Croydon of that educated employment mass of people. And this is why Croydon's a good area, and this is why blue chip companies tend to have offices in Croydon.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what you've just explained there, I mean, let's be honest, that's what every investor should be doing with every area, understanding it. What are the supplies? What are the demands? Who are the people? Who are the tenants? Who are the buyers? Because obviously you touched upon the big kind of first-time buyer aspect of the area as well. And when it comes to properties in that area, you touched upon the fact that you kind of specialise in looking at larger size properties and breaking them up into several flats. As an area, is that its main catchment, or is it a whole mixture? Or it's got a big warehouse area, and it's got a big area of single flats, and then it's got this other wee leafy suburb area with detached houses. You know, what's the split like?
Yeah, Croydon's massive. Croydon, in north of the borough, you've got the more towny terraced areas where there's lots of terrace houses, and that's where you tend to find more of the flats as well, or houses converted into flats. And then south of the borough is more leafy, where you've got more detached and semi-detached houses as well. You also have developments being built south of the borough as well, with flats of 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. So it's quite mixed. Croydon is quite mixed, but yeah, it's very diverse. And that's why people like the borough. I focus north of the borough because you've got these large houses, right, that are worth in excess of 500,000, 600,000. But the demographic and the type of people that live there are not interested in buying that house in that area.
Yeah.
You could take that money and go get a bigger house where it's more leafy south of the borough. So you've got all these large houses that were desirable in its heyday, but now they don't lend itself to the demand in that area. More and more people are living in smaller units.
Right. Gotcha.
Families 1 and 2s. More and more people want to get to work very quickly within half an hour, within an hour.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to do that and split these large houses into. It's in this nation's psyche. I'm always saying it. It's in our nation's psyche, right? That we must all aspire and get our first house and residential mortgage. Now I have my own views on that, but that's what most people in this in the UK aspire to do. So first time buyers want to get on the ladder ASAP. So we're just trying to help out.
Yeah, no, you've definitely got a grasp on your area, your market, your customers. It makes sense, and that's why you're having such a success down there, which is brilliant. And the brilliant thing about you is not only can I talk to you about London and areas there, but you also know another city in England quite well because you've got other strategies going on. You're quite the entrepreneur, that's for sure. Also begins with L, but much further north, and that's the city of Liverpool, isn't it? You've got your fingers in some pies up there as well.
Yeah, Liverpool. Liverpool's my second stomping ground in terms of property. My second city. So, what I do in Liverpool is buy houses and rent them out. Because the rental yields, in my opinion, don't make sense in London, right? For the amount of money you have to pour up and the amount of rent you get back in terms of return. It doesn't fit my criteria. It doesn't make sense. You get much more if you go north of the country. And I chose Liverpool because Liverpool is an up-and-coming city. It's got the waterfront, right? And I've seen in London along the River Thames over the past 30 years how they've systematically been building new apartments along the River Thames and developing the areas and gentrifying the areas, like Battersea, where I used to live. There's this area called St. George's Wharf. If you go there now, luxury flats built along the riverside. But 20 years ago, when I was living in that area, it was all industrial or just dumpland. And Liverpool has the same opportunity, where they've got the docks, the old docks that are no longer in use, and they're systematically turning that into luxury residential areas. So long-term growth, long-term prospects, Liverpool's got it, but getting in there, the house prices are quite low in some areas, and you can get good returns on your money.
That's it. You're getting the yield, as you say. You're looking at that area and you say, no, this is different. This needs a different strategy. I'm going to make my money work for me differently here. I like that. I really like that. And what would you say how would you advise or guide investors who are thinking about something like that? Because that's a big distance from where you are. So how do you find managing projects, picking places? Is it loads of travel? Are you outsourcing things? Are you making partnerships with people more local? What's your experience there?
So it's all about leverage. It's all about leveraging other people's skill set and other people's experience. Obviously, you've got to go up there and do your due diligence initially and make those connections, build your contacts, but then you just have to delegate tasks. So all my properties are managed by local partners that I've built relationships with up in Liverpool. Again, all my refurbs are managed by builders that I've built relationships with as well. Even from sourcing some property deals, I've got an arm of that's outsourced and managed as well. Built relationships with agents and other, surprisingly, not surprisingly, landlords. Build relationships with landlords. They will bring you deals. Your builders will bring you deals. It's not all about Rightmove and Zoopla, or they are very useful.
Yep.
And a lot of my deals I have found on Rightmove and Zoopla and the online portals. But as you build your contact base, you're going to get deals brought to you from your power team. So it's all about building a power team, and that's how you can do it at a distance.
Yeah.
As I said, I was a DIY enthusiast before I got educated. But
but you have completely reframed your family history there. one minute your dad had you in shackles, and then the next minute you're up. No, this is a passion of mine. I'm an enthusiast. What just happened there?
Yeah. DIY for me now means don't involve yourself. Don't involve. Outsource it, delegate.
That's a fantastic mission statement. I like that. Let's just completely take over the DIY acronym. Don't involve yourself. I love that. That's a brilliant takeaway.
Yeah, when I speak to people and they talk about, they worry about investing outside of London. Because I always tell people, if you want income, forget about London, invest outside of London. They avoid, the common question I get is, how am I going to manage it? How am I going to manage it?
Yeah,
you're not going to manage it. That's how you're going to manage it. You are not going to manage it. You're going to get somebody else to manage it for you.
Brilliant.
Simple.
Yes, I like that. And so many takeaways you gave there, brilliant insights, leveraging contacts, relationships, networking, outsourcing, you name it. I mean, you've ticked, obviously, these are things we've discussed long and weary when we work together with Protégé, with Platinum, etc. for the PMW courses. But they work, there's a reason, and you're making it work. That's why you're being such a success. So what's the future for you then? How do you see the kind of things going in front of you? Carrying on with the same strategies, a different balance, something new? What's in the future for Leslie?
So the future is scaling up the development arm of the business and the portfolio building service of the business as well. So the development arm, not only will we be continuing to turn houses into flats down south, we'll be expanding into all parts of the UK, particularly land. So buying land or finding land and building brand new sites.
Mm-hmm.
The government's always banging on about there's a chronic housing shortage in the UK and there's land out there. So now is a great opportunity for land development. But for anybody who wants to get into land development, know that it's a long haul game. So you need to have strong cash flow to your business. And the strong cash flow for my business is the property sourcing and portfolio building for clients. So I only work with a handful of clients at any given time, and we build them portfolios, that will give them additional income to supplement their salary or their income from their business and allow them to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So win-win. And at the same time, I'm building my own portfolio of properties, and then after that, I'm buying companies.
Ah.
Yeah, so property is just the first industry that I'm going into, and once I built a solid foundation of my business empire in property, we shall diversify into other sectors. So
tremendous. Yeah. This is a man with big dreams and big aspirations. But more importantly, he's a man of action as well, which is it's always great to see in someone. It's a tremendous story.
You only live once, and Donald Trump, right? I read his book, The Art of a Deal. He says you should think big. It takes the same amount of energy to think small and to think big. So you might as well just think big and go for it, So, but that's what I'm doing.
And finally, is this the kind of thing, wisdom, insights that you're going to pass on to your children, do you think, as well?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I've got 3 boys at the moment, 3 musketeers, I call them. My eldest son, I'm always taking him around our projects,
Right.
Getting him involved and just introducing him to the business that I'm running at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day he's going to take over the business, or one of them, or all of them, or they're going to do their own business and just take it to the next level. I believe every generation should surpass the previous generation. So that's what I'm going to be teaching them, and always ingraining in them that they should aspire to do more than I have. So,
that's fantastic. That is a brilliant mindset to have. It really is. And in fact, that's the perfect place to finish, because without knowing it, you've brought everything full circle. Because we started with a story of a young man in an environment of gangs, drugs, illegality, knives, violence, and now we're talking about this same man providing a completely different environment for his 3 musketeers. Safety, security, knowledge, hopes, aspirations, business, education, all this, a completely different environment. And that's just wonderful. A lot of respect for you, Leslie. Absolutely brilliant. And thanks a million for being on the show. Thanks for sharing everything, sharing your story, sharing your vision, sharing your experiences. People that are listening in obviously can get in touch with you through the links that we'll provide in the show notes. But we're quite positive you're going to be continuing on to bigger and better things. So thanks a lot for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to share my story, my experience, and hopefully inspire some other folk to take steps, take actions, and create the life that they want. That's what property has done for me. It's allowed me to create the lifestyle that I want to live. So yeah, all good. In the hood.
Come on, there it is. All good in the hood. Fantastic, sir. We'll wind up there. Hi folks, it's Richard here again. I really hope that you enjoyed today's show. Now listen, I've got 2 links to help support you on your property journey, and I want you to write these down when it's safe to do so. You might be driving in your car just now listening to the podcast, and that's fine, but please make sure that you get back to this and write down these links. Okay, are you ready? Got your pen in hand? So the first one, thisweekinproperty.com. Now that's the website for this podcast. On there, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out. What you can also do on there is catch up on tons and tons of past episodes. There are hours and hours of property related content and some amazing guests with some fantastic insights to help you on your property journey. So that is thisweekinproperty.com. Okay, next link, propertyprotege.com. Now let me spell that one out for you. PROPERTY PROTEGE. That's propertyprotege.com. Now what's it all about? Well, the Property Protege Intensive is designed to give you the lift that you need into the world of property. And if you've already started, if you've already got some experience, then this can help you accelerate your progress even further. the experiences that people have had at Protégé and the success that they've achieved afterwards has been life-changing for many people. So go there right now if you're serious about property and if you want to build a highly successful property business. That's propertyprotege.com. So there you go. That's 2 links to some fantastic resources that are going to help you. And listen, talking about help, can you help me to help other people? You see, the more that we can share this podcast, then more people can learn from the fantastic guests that I've been so lucky to talk to. How can you help? Well, it's very simple and very quick. Just a short review on iTunes is going to help make that happen. If you go to thisweekinproperty.com/iTunes, that will guide you to the very place that you will be able to help other people. So thank you. Thanks for doing that, and thanks for listening into the show. And I look forward to bringing another great guest to you in the next show.